Hello.
Okay, I think that should have started. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're well. Welcome to the first of a new series, if we want to call it that, of KAM Knowledge Hub webinars. Um, I realised my name. I think my name is on here as Katie Moses, so the two of us, we're morphing into each other, which is kind of scary. And
Nobody needs two of me. Nobody needs
I've
that.
had enough tech issues for the last 24 hours to worry too much about that. So my name is Katie Jenkins, for those of you who don't know, and I am Marketing and Partnership Director at KAM. And I'm here with my colleagues, Katie Moses and Blake Gladman. I'll let them introduce themselves in a minute. But welcome today. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully you're all part of the Knowledge Hub and have access to a lot of the insight and reports that we do. What we wanted to do is we'd had feedback to try and bring that to life a bit more and give you a bit of the flavour as new reports come out, as sort of a summary, if you like, a taster of what some of the main themes are. So today we're going to be focusing on three things, three new reports that we've got coming out or are on there already: functional mood enhancing drinks, a report into employee experience, which we work with Sona on, and then one that seems lots of people seem to be talking about at the moment, which is feeding the GLP-1 generation, the impact of diet drugs on hospitality, how people are eating differently, etc. Hopefully, you all know who KAM is. The core of what we do essentially is working independently as research-based consultants with a number of hospitality operators. We're working with Turtle Bay Bills at the moment to help them understand their customers and lapsed customers more. Taste testing with Wasabi, Wingstop. We've done big category reviews with Thatcher's recently, brand awareness projects, worked with Buckhome. We've had a brilliant sort of 6 month diving into our clients and helping them understand their customers and employees, in fact, better. And the other side of what we do is make sure that we as a team and our clients as well have a real deep understanding of broader sort of consumer trends. And that's where the Knowledge Hub comes in. So we invest in a number of research reports, white papers, whatever they might be, to make sure that we as a team are absolutely at the cutting edge of what is happening from a consumer perspective and employee, how they're socializing, how they're spending their money, what they're drinking, what they're eating, where they're going, etc., etc. That's where the Knowledge Hub came about. So with a real sort of plan of helping keep our clients and hospitality partners informed, if you like. And so today we're going to focus on a couple of those reports. Do you want to, sorry, I'm twittering on. Katie and Blake, do you want to introduce yourself before we kick in?
Yeah, sure. I'm Katie Moses. I am actually the Katie Moses. She's not the Katie Moses, whichever side she is. And I'm MD and founder of KAM. And generally, I help to look after our client projects as well. Blake, I didn't know how to
Hello.
describe what I did.
Yeah, no one knows.
Great.
Hello, I'm Blake Lemon. I'm Strategy Insight Director. I look after all the insights and research side of CAM business
Fabulous. So we're going to start, hopefully,
with me.
with, well, that doesn't work. Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. Oh, blinking it. Something was always going to go wrong, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the least worst thing that could have happened, though, to be fair, with our technological
I
capability.
thought me being morphing into Katie Moses might be
Could have been a worse image,
Oh,
maybe.
listen, I love my life. It's a great
Actually, I
thing.
wouldn't mind your house. Right.
Here we are.
Okay, cool. Now I think I can give you, hopefully, Blake.
Yes,
Uh, no, I can't. That's going to be too complicated.
never mind. I will. I
Because
will
Let's crack
tell
on.
you to get
so
going.
I can do next slide.
No
Okay, so
worries.
this is a brand new report which was literally launched yesterday at a massive conference in London on low no mid strength with Club Soda. And Blake's been working closely with this one, so I'll let him take over and whiz you through this sort of real rise in functional mood enhancing drinks and what that means for us all.
Yep, cool. So yeah, if we move on to the next slide, we can see the members of what we call the Functional Drinks Collective. So this is a group of brands within the functional drink space, and CAM alongside Club Soda. We have brought all these brands together with the aim to kind of raise awareness of functional drinks and to try and, I guess, decode the kind of consumer behaviors and need states that are driving this trend. So, alongside this piece of research, there's lots of other activity that is happening to kind of raise the awareness of the category. But this piece of research in particular was something we
Oh,
did with a
sorry.
thousand NatRep consumers within the UK. And I will take you through some of the highlights of this report. So, I guess before we sort of get into these headlines, when we're talking about functional drinks, we're talking about kind of three probably key areas, really. One is CBD, which is probably the most popular and one that probably most people are aware of in terms of obviously it's the non-psychoactive part of the cannabis plant. So these are sort of drinks that are designed to kind of provide that sort of relaxation, calming aspect without obviously the kind of high. Then we've got adaptogens, which are more kind of natural herbs or plants. Think things like ashwagandha, ginseng, you may be aware of. So these are around kind of stress, boosting energy, supporting well-being, etc. Focus, things like that. And then finally, we've got what's called nootropics, which is more things like lion's mane mushroom, which people might be aware of. So this is sort of more things towards sort of supporting brain function, so focus, memory, mental clarity, brain boosting, those types of things. So that's kind of like broadly the different areas that these sort of drinks and these brands are sort of tapping into. So it's a really interesting area, and I guess there's four key sort of headlines really that came out of the research that we did. One is around that there's a real interest in these drinks in this category. Clearly, we already know that there's a massive boom and interest in health and well-being in general, and obviously, kind of a lot of other reports that we do really kind of sort of highlight that across all age groups, across all demographics. So no surprise there that there's an interest in these products that can sort of tap into some of these areas. But I guess the challenge for the category is that there's a real lack of understanding from the consumers in terms of, I spoke about obviously adaptogens, nootropics, and the ingredients. A lot of people aren't aware what those things mean, aren't aware of a lot of the ingredients that get listed on these drinks. So they they like the concept, but maybe don't understand the detail. And we need to sort of try and bridge that gap essentially.
Like, is there still a fear of the idea of these ingredients being illegal or not really something that humans should be consuming unless they're a bit sort of peace, love,
I don't think
and
so. I mean, there's a little bit. There's some data that might be in here, but certainly is in the report where there's a small percentage that think that they contain sort of illegal drugs,
yeah.
but it's minimal.
Okay, good.
I think certainly probably when we first looked into sort of CBD drinks maybe 4 or 5 years ago in our low and no study,
Mhm.
I think there was a lot more kind of miscommunication or lack
Mm,
of understanding of it. I
yeah.
think now CBD's probably led the way in terms of now people understand that, this is sort of like something that's a slightly more mainstream in culture, I think
Yeah,
now.
I think it comes up later on, but I was surprised at the proportion who said they were aware of them and said they had tried them, not necessarily using them regularly, but
Yeah.
had tried them. I mean, obviously, it's not. I guess it's not mainstream as such yet, but certainly
Yeah.
seems to be growing.
And then the other area is really kind of around consumers looking for experiences. Again, we talk a lot about how certainly within the on-trade, consumers are looking for an experience, and alcohol is one of the elements that make up that social experience, but
Mhm.
it's not the only element. And obviously, low and no drinks play a role, but then there's also a role for people who are looking for something kind of that straddles the two, really, that isn't necessarily alcohol led, but also gives you some kind of boost or feeling or changes
Yeah.
your mood essentially.
Mm.
Um, we also know that again, kind of trust, I guess, is the real key thing here in terms of, and this was we presented this research at the Club Soda event earlier this week in London, and I think for a lot of the brands, this is one of the key things really in terms of there's a slight lack of trust, I guess, with consumers in terms of the effectiveness. So only a
Mm.
quarter of them who've had them kind of believe that it's actually doing something.
I
Right,
think
okay.
people are
So
expecting more.
yeah, I think again, it's that lack of. probably understanding about what it actually is doing,
Mm,
you know. People maybe see CBD and think they're suddenly going to, get off their face type of thing, whereas actually it's a very much a more of a subtle, impact. And again, I think that's that sort of education piece from a consumer
mhm.
perspective, really understanding what's the purpose of these products, what's the
Yeah.
occasions, what's the need states, rather than necessarily maybe what's the ingredients.
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
Can we
so if
go
we
on?
move on, I'll try and whiz through a bit because I'm pretty sure we're a
Yeah,
bit
you want to.
waffling a little bit. Um, so yeah, so like I said earlier, we know that kind of health and wellness is a massive trend. 9 in 10 UK adults say they're interested in their own personal health and wellness. The other 10% obviously don't give a toss about their lives. Um, but interestingly, the two biggest ones aren't necessarily about kind of I guess sort of health in its sort of in its basic terms is probably what we think in terms of weight loss or sort of physical health, I guess. They're more around kind of sleep, relaxation, mental well-being, stress. So that kind of area is a real booming area. And I know we're going to talk about, Casey's going to talk about GL 1P, GLP-1
GLP-1, yeah.
later, but for a large portion of people, it's really around more that mental, basically kind of like getting through life, essentially.
The one thing that
Um,
came out of, sorry, I know we need to
yeah,
keep
shut
moving,
up.
but the interesting thing on the sleep and relaxation, and it's a conversation in my house at the moment all the time, is the growth, partly spurred on by the growth in people wearing, I was Apple watches for one, or
Mm,
generic, whatever they are, tracker watches.
hmm.
Um, and it is up to something like, I'm making this up a bit because it's not asked out, something like 1 in 5 in the UK now have them, and it's much higher in sort of Gen Z, etc. And it's just become so normal to check how well I slept, get the sleep score, get the battery score, get everything else. So all of this information is at our fingertips, which is bringing health even higher, I think, into our sort of daily living,
Yeah,
what we're drinking, what we're eating. How am I today?
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I think
So
is a
moving
big
on,
driver. Yep, yep,
moving on,
yep.
driver.
Sorry, driver. There we go.
So yes, like I said earlier, awareness is obviously higher with CBD, but awareness of the other things is still kind of relatively high in terms of people have heard of them. People are starting to, they're starting to slip into people's consciousness. This is an rep, by the way, so this is of all audiences, all consumer types. But obviously, the percentage that have tried them is a lot lower, so actual engagement is relatively low. But again, we see that what sort of the key words or phrases that people are associating with them, or I guess what people are looking for from these products. Again, it's about mental well-being, it's about stress, it's about
Mhm.
anxiety, etc. But we know that 80%, so 8 in 10 consumers find the idea of drinks that can support or improve these areas obviously appealing because these are areas that are important to them in their lifestyle. So if there's a product that's kind of easily accessible, available from a supermarket,
Mm.
available from a pub or a bar that can help in this area, then obviously that's going to be of real
People
interest to the
generally look
consumer.
people generally look for quick wins, right? If
Yeah,
this is a functional, and it's quite interesting that I think it's worth saying that we would these are being referred to as mood enhancing, but over the last sort of few months, people have taken on the functional drinks
yeah,
title, which I think sort of fits in nicely with that. What are
I
you
think it
doing for
works a
me
lot
when I
better.
come
Yeah.
to you? What
yeah.
are you
Yeah.
adding?
And this is probably one of the key um, piece of information, I guess, is in terms of obviously when we look at the occasions that people would use these drinks for, it's pretty much everywhere. So it's at home in the evening, it's also during kind of work time, it's also when they're socializing, it's also as part of a daily wellness routine. So there's loads of different occasions that essentially straddle these categories and also showcases really where, you know, for brands and for operators, there's a high frequency potential here for this category because it can go from something that you want to have every morning or every lunchtime as part of a sort of wellness routine, but also something that you want to, swap out a lower no or soft drink alternative in a bar in the evening, or again replace maybe that glass of wine in the evening as well at home.
Mhm.
Um, and again, we talk a lot about how the social spaces, pubs, bars, restaurants, obviously alcohol is a huge part of that experience, but more and more it's becoming kind of about offering all the experiences to consumers, being more inclusive, allowing people to enjoy a social experience depending on their mood and what they're looking for. We all, even people who drink a lot of alcohol might want to have one night out where they're not, or want to have one night out where they're doing something differently. So it's about having that range of offers to be able to provide that experience for consumers. And it also, from when we talk to people, it actually enhances that space. So it makes
Hmm.
that space feel more inclusive, more
Yeah.
um, enhances interactions, just makes it a more sort of sociable experience, which ultimately is what people are fundamentally looking for.
And a lot of what our clients are focusing on as well, right? So
Yeah,
what else are we offering outside of booze,
yeah,
from activities to a sort of broader
yeah. And I
range?
guess this is kind of, again, from the conversations we've had with the brands, the really interesting piece here around kind of trying to sort of look at occasions. So acting on occasions rather than necessarily kind of, I guess, moving out of that sort of health and wellness and into kind of need states and occasions that can reflect across all those occasions that we talked about. So in a pub or a bar, at home in
Hmm.
the evening, things like calming, unwinding, focus, and but trying to, I guess, communicate to the consumer what's this product going to help you achieve,
Achieve,
essentially,
yeah.
and sort of bridging that gap and kind of educating, sort of try and convert them. So we talked a lot about things like how, making simple messaging, simple labels, leaning into things like maybe sort of like with vegetarian, vegan labels on menus, etc., like little icons that signify
Hmm.
sleep or energy or
Hmm.
focus or
Hmm.
unwind, etc. And playing around with the language again, sort of functional is the sort of industry collective for these sort of drinks,
Right.
but they all obviously operate in slightly different um, nuances within that. Focus, calm, energy, gut health, sleep, immunity. So again, kind of rather than necessarily kind of build a sort of functional drinks section in a supermarket, for example, it's trying to sort of allow these categories to sort of stand on their own.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about how sort of alcohol doesn't necessarily talk about its function. It's obviously built up.
Yeah.
People under is up under people's
Yeah.
understanding of it has built up
Yeah.
over hundreds of years, and it's trying to sort of obviously small steps to sort of get there. But it's that type of aim, I think, for this category.
Hmm.
Um, and clearly, there's loads that we can learn from the low and no category. I think in terms of kind of that customer journey, hand holding them in terms of understanding what the need states are, what the uses are of these products.
Hmm.
But also, I think the key thing here is probably that there is value to be had from a consumer. Whereas low and no struggles to a degree with people thinking that it should be less expensive, you're
Mm.
taking something away,
Yeah. Yeah.
etc.
Yeah.
Whereas for functional, it's about you adding something extra. So when you
Yeah.
look at a soft drink versus a functional drink, actually people see an added value there.
Mm.
So there's a real opportunity for sort of premiumization
Yeah.
within the category.
That came up a lot yesterday, actually, at this Low and No conference, which was about how it's literally called Low and No. You're taking alcohol.
Mm,
The whole name is framed around it's without alcohol,
yeah,
rather than sort of giving it a let's talk about what it does, let's talk about what it gives you, let's talk about what it offers you, rather than what it doesn't have.
yeah,
Language is a powerful thing, isn't it?
yeah.
Fab. Anything else you want to
No,
add?
so basically that's probably, 25-30% of that full report. So there's loads more obviously in there. And we really sort of get into, I guess, almost obviously this is the first time we've sort of looked into the category in a bit of detail. So
Yeah.
it's a bit of a state of the nation of where the consumer mindset is at now.
Yeah.
And it'd be really interesting, I guess, to see how this grows and develops. But the key thing for me really is that huge opportunity across multiple formats, multiple venue types.
Mm.
And again, another category that's going to help make venues more inclusive and attract more footfall um, to venues.
Yeah, it reminds, I mean, this is a while ago, but almost the boom of energy drinks and things. Suddenly I could sort of get something from something I can just buy, drink. There's no
Mhm.
hassle, it's easy kind of thing.
Yeah.
And this is kind of an evolution of that. I do want to highlight as well, if people are interested in this in particular, we did a report, it was about a year or so ago now, wasn't it? The original one called High and Dry.
Yeah.
And actually within that, the data is older, interesting to compare, but within that there's a good couple of pages sort of explaining all the terminology and what
Yeah.
different things do to you.
Yeah.
So if you are new to this, even as a consumer, that's a good one to have a read of. That's in the main
Yeah,
section.
and it's some examples of what's obviously happening in some countries that are a bit further ahead of the curve than
That's right.
us, like the US, Germany, etc., where sort of
Yeah,
more kind of stuff's legalized and etc.
yeah, yeah.
And Dan Roundtree, who is the founder of High and Dry, rather boldly predicts that, in 5 to 10 years' time, we're going to be kind of on that curve. So yeah,
Mm.
certainly something to get into now.
And there was absolutely brilliant hospitality talks with him actually, which again
Yes.
going into all of this. So there's a lot more information if this is your thing to delve a lot more deeper in. Thank you, Blake. Blake now has to go to something far more important than
Yes,
a
my
CAM
little
webinar, which
daughter's
is
school assembly. Yeah,
his daughter's
Ah,
school
lovely.
assembly. So thank you for joining us, Blake.
no problem.
Good luck. I hope
Yeah,
she smashes it.
Enjoy. Good luck, Maud.
See you later.
goodbye, everybody.
Okay, let's move on then. So, another big report that's coming out is focuses on employee experience and are we doing enough to make their jobs as easy, enjoyable, productive, etc. as possible. That report is coming out, I believe, next week, and we've done that in partnership with Sona last week, or was it a couple of weeks ago, Katie? Katie, I think it's 2 weeks now. Katie presented at the Propel Culture, Talent and
People,
Training
people, culture,
People
and
Conference,
yeah.
something like that, to a obviously roaring audience. And she used a lot of this research, which is based on the Sona report, but that will be out in full, I believe, next week. So what she's going to run through today is just some of it, the key headlines, if you like, which we presented, or she presented a couple of weeks ago. All good, Katie?
Oh, good. Yeah, so I think that the main point to make here is just to start with is that we always focus on the customer as we should do in hospitality. And everything should start with and lead back to the customer. But actually, if we don't get employee experience right, then that's going to have a knock-on effect for those customers because they're just simply not going to get the kind of experience that we would like them to get if they're not happy, if they don't have the tools they need to do their job, if they don't feel fully prepared, etc. So I'm just going to talk for sort of 5, 10 minutes about employee experience. And we know that there is a really good reason for this. It's not about having somewhere that's really nice and fluffy to work. We know that companies who have engaged and satisfied employees have a higher productivity, they have a lower staff turnover, and they have lower absenteeism and presenteeism, which I think we're going to go on to discuss a little bit later. And the actual exact correlation is that guests then spend more, they visit more often, they're more likely to be loyal, they're more likely to be advocates for the brand, and really crucially, they're more likely to forgive mistakes from a venue, from a brand, where they know the employees, they know the team members, etc. Next slide. I won't say next slide, please, because some of you out there will get some kind of like awful PTSD trigger if I do that. So Katie mentioned earlier the insights, the project that we've done with Sona.
Oh, have we just lost her? Okay, do. Oh, I think I can carry on. Can you all still hear me? I'm just waiting for confirmation. Or we lost everyone. No. Can hear Katie, but not Katie. Okay, that's useful to know. So I think I'm still here. Well, I'll carry on then because I know this research quite well as well. We're preparing our teams for success. So what we as part of this research, and again the report comes out next week. We spoke to it was 300 hospitality employees to get their feedback on their current experience. Are we preparing our teams for success? And what we did, we talked through almost the whole employee journey, if you like. So there's things on, there's various feedback on from onboarding, recruitment onboarding, all the way through to sort of day-to-day experience as well. So 44% felt that they were very well prepared to do their job after initial training onboarding. Pretty good. pretty positive, but probably a lot more, a lot further we could do as an industry. 86% said they felt fully confident within their role after 4 weeks. So again, we haven't got the comparisons for other industries here, but these are fairly positive numbers. And again, we're talking to our clients, they like to see how they compare to some of these sort of industry figures as well. So where are we starting off as well as we should? What improvements are they looking for when we talk to employees with regards to onboarding, a clearer explanation of company policies and procedures. Some of these things are really kind of, they feel quite dry in a way. But what's come out of this research is just how can we get the basics right in a way so that people can just get on and do their job to the sort of maximum capacity. A clear explanation of company policies, I said. They're open and positively asking for more hands-on training, shadowing opportunities as well, better integration within the team and workplace culture as well, and asking for more training and things like that. There's a lot in this report asking about what could we do better, what should we be doing better to support and make sure that employee experience is spot on, because as we know, that will be affecting customer experience as well. So I'm just familiarizing myself with this. What are employees see as the most effective? So some other areas we talked about here were communication, I guess. So yes, onboarding. What about ongoing communication? How do they want to be communicated with? There's various feedback on sort of WhatsApp specifically and that kind of instant messaging. Oh, she's back. Hello.
I have no idea what happened there. Would you like to carry on?
You froze. And because there's two Katie Moseses, I don't think anyone noticed. No, I'll finish this slide. And this is number one still with employees is this face-to-face, in-person meetings, briefings. And the majority of people, and no surprise if you're working in hospitality, generally you like people, generally, and you want to be around people. So in-person briefings absolutely number one there. The WhatsApp messaging is up there as well, and then all the way down. 55% happy with dedicated company apps, but when they go wrong, that is where it causes ultimate frustration, etc. Anything you want to add to that, T'other Kate?
No. I'm just hoping I'm not going to get kicked out again. So we'll see. Katie, obviously I don't know what Katie said over the last couple of minutes, but the reason, so as part of this project with Sona, we actually went out to hospitality professionals and said to them, what is it that causes you that stress? What is it that causes you overwhelm? What is it that makes your experience of working in hospitality not quite as good as it could be? And I think it's really interesting that we are still running rotoring, scheduling, etc. in exactly the same way as we ran it 20, 30 years ago. And we haven't really moved with the times in so much as considering the team member and actually what do they need from the process of scheduling, from the process of picking shifts and rotas, etc. And I do feel, and I said this at the Propel conference last week, I do feel that sometimes there's a little bit of arrogance in our industry where we just think, yeah, just give them their shifts, tell them what they're doing. That's absolutely fine. Or we can mess that around and we can change that around. But actually, it's not a positive for the employee experience. So you can see here, 30% of people said they don't feel scheduling process considers their availability, preferences, life-work balance. And that's incredibly important. It's incredibly important that we are listening to our team members and understanding what is important for them within their life, within their work, and making sure that we work alongside that rather than just being that sort of dictatorship where we just say, here's what you need to do. And then we also need to give people some notice. I mean, the majority, well, I'd imagine almost everybody on this call right now, on this webinar right now, works in a head office function. Now, how would you feel if you got your weekly hours less than a week in advance, so less than 6 days in advance every time? That's not conducive to people being able to plan their life and their other commitments, etc. And this insight is telling us that 50% of people find themselves in that situation. And then, even then, we've come across another roadblock where 27% say their schedule is published, but then it's frequently or very frequently changed. Again, are we actually thinking about the employee experience here?
That's absolutely insane. Like, I mean,
No.
we've all done our time, or I certainly did, worked a lot of shifts and things, but And I can't, maybe I can't remember it at the time, or maybe because I did it more in my, teens, 20s, where
Hmm.
my whole life was a bit more flexible. I didn't notice it as much. I'm sure it was the
Yeah.
case then as well, but I just can't, that is not conducive to a sort of working mum or a
No.
family, or even a, or even a 20
Exactly. And the
something
thing is
wanting
that we
to organize
talk
their life.
all the time
Yeah.
about how hospitality is no longer a stopgap. It's no longer just for those in education, but
Mm,
actually it's a career, which I wholly, wholly am a massive believer in. But we can't be banging that drum if we're also saying, by the way, we're still going to treat you like you're a student
mm,
when it comes to rotoring, when it comes to your schedule changing
mm,
and just staffing in general.
mm.
And that, that comes to the last point. 40% say that at least once a month they're short-staffed, and it affects how much they enjoy their job. The
Yeah.
fact is, nobody wants to go into work and do a shit job. Nobody wants to
Mm,
not have what they need in order to present the best that they can to customers and consumers. So I think that this is a little bit of a wake-up call personally for me, looking at that, because I'm going to be challenging our clients to understand, okay, so how do if
yeah.
we've got clients whose team members are telling us maybe that they're not so happy within their role, I'll be
Mm,
challenging our clients to say, okay, let's have a look at your rotoring
yeah.
system. Let's see how
And
this
obviously
works.
the cost, cost will be a massive part
Oh God, yeah.
of that, but it's about doing it smarter, right? It's about
Yeah,
making sure you're making the most of every hour, every staff member, everyone else as well.
totally, totally.
Um,
Um, and when we look at inefficient processes and systems, obviously we were just talking about sort of rotoring and scheduling, etc. But if we're talking about processes and systems as a whole, we are wasting an hour and 12 minutes per employee per week on not having good scheduling, not having the information that we need
it's
to
nuts.
at our fingertips, etc. That's 4% of someone's working week, Katie. That's quite a
Mm, yeah,
lot.
yeah, that is okay.
What?
It's
Well, you
just a
think yours
huge
are
number,
small?
isn't it?
Oh, right. I thought you
Yeah.
were about to say CAM processes are so terrible
I
that
mean,
it's
that's a
more than
separate
that.
conversation.
Okay, let's take that one offline. So that is directly costing hospitality employers 2.7 billion a year. That is absolutely insane. And we say we don't have the budgets to bring on more employees, and that's why we are short staffed. We do have the budget. It's just elsewhere, and we need to
Yeah,
sort of bring it in.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Equivalent of 1 million additional employees, I think, is
Yeah.
a great or depressing figure, depending on how you look at it as well.
They tend to be both.
Yeah.
Um, so the solution quite often that gets bandied around is what about technology? What about AI? How can we make AI work for hospitality? And I think we've got 12 minutes left of this webinar, so I do not have the time to give you that silver bullet. Having said that, what's really been interesting for us at KAM in the last I would say 18 months is the sort of proliferation of usage of AI. Um, I still stand by the comment I made about 8 years ago, where I said tech for tech's sake is pointless. You have to make sure that all tech leads back to the consumer, the customer, or the employee experience, and that overall it should mean that our customers are walking out having had a better time, having had a better experience. And I think there's some internal PR to be done here, Katie, like within hospitality employees. 41% of the people we spoke to said, yeah, I see AI is going to be a helpful tool. The 21% who see it as a threat are the people we need
Mm,
to be talking to, because actually we've started
mhm.
using AI and CAM. I mean, well, I think you actually want to marry Chat GPT, I think you said the other day.
I'm pushing a bit far, but sure.
Um, but I think that it can have an amazing role within a company, within a hospitality company, whether that's a venue, whether it's supply, whatever it is. But we've got to make sure we're using it properly.
Mm,
And those 21% we need to be talking to and saying, look, here's how you can use it
yeah,
to improve your employee experience, to improve the experience that we give to customers.
yeah. Uh,
Um, and then those that of course are using tech in their day-to-day base, which must be everybody pretty much in this industry. You've got their 39%, 27% say, much easier or somewhat easier. We've really only got 13% of people who say that tech has made their daily tasks more
mm,
difficult or much more difficult. And I
mm,
would challenge whether those people are using it in the right way, whether they've had the
Yeah.
right
When it
training.
goes, you remember when it goes wrong, right? You don't see it when
Course you
it's
do.
all working
Of
smoothly and
course you
changing
do.
really nice.
And you know that I know I've worked frontline myself, I did for years. That idea of standing there with a piece of tech in your hand that isn't working and the customer wants to pay, and then you and the stress of that and the anxiety that brings up. And the fact is everybody walks away from that situation pissed off. So
Mm,
yeah, it's about making sure that the tech works
mm.
for the reason it's supposed to work.
And just linking this in again back to the Knowledge Hub, there was actually one of my favorite hospitality talks, which is the sort of video podcast we do regularly. Katie, you talked to Tommy Giro, is it from
Oh yes, from Honest Burgers.
Honest Burger?
Oh, that was one of my favorite. That guy, what that guy doesn't know about AI
Yeah,
and that kind of thing. So anyone online now, go and look for that because that is a really good.
yeah,
Are you trying to move me on? Is this like the
I
Oscars?
am. Yeah, yeah, I'm doing it
Did I
subtly.
do the last slide?
You can't
Okay.
go to Maud's assembly. No, you need to
No,
see it.
I don't have to go to more assembly. But
Yeah,
anyway,
no,
so the point
sorry.
is we
That
need to look after our employees. We need to look after our teams. That experience will lead to a good guest experience. Over to you.
Yeah, and again, I would genuinely recommend that Honest Burger
Definitely Honest
hospitality
Burgers. Yeah.
talks if you're interested in how people are already or how hospitality businesses are already using tech, AI, etc., because they're doing wonderful things there. Again, this full report, which Katie dug into, there's a hell of a lot more, which we did in partnership with Sonar, will be on the Knowledge Hub next week, I believe. The presentation, all the slides that she presented 2 weeks ago at the Propel conference, I think are already up there actually. So if you
Okay.
want to have a look through that, and we'll probably get a lot of these when we do the presentations. We also do recordings of them as well, so that you get our sort of commentary, etc. I don't think we have done for this one, but I may well ask Katie to do
Yeah.
that. So do keep checking in on them as well. So final thing, we did say we'll be here till 10:30, but I'll go
Oh,
as
did
quick
we?
as I
Okay, sorry.
can. We seem to have waffled on a bit, but I've worked quite closely on this, so I'll take you through this one. And it was presented initially at the UKH Future of Food seminar about a month ago, I think. So it's a pretty new research, and it's an absolutely fascinating topic, which we believe fundamentally, and the more I sort of understand it and learn about it and talk to people about it, is going to have a phenomenal impact on our industry. It already is in the US. And reading what's happening over there and some of the changes hospitality operators and even suppliers, alcohol, the big out are making as well. Is just fascinating. So I'll whiz you through this, but the full report is literally, I was hoping it'll be up today, but I think it'll be tomorrow. We're just doing a final little tweak on that, and then you'll be able to read that in detail as well. But let me take you through some of this. I'm not going to linger too much on this, but what exactly are GLP-1 drugs? They are essentially they mimic our sort of natural what's the word, natural hormones, gut hormones, which make us feel fuller longer, digesting slower, our appetite shrinks essentially. With reports, we did some sort of quant and qual work on this, reports of people just literally not needing to eat, setting alarms to remind them to eat. So the appetite really shrinks and it steadies your blood sugar level. These were originally used for diabetes, also prescribed for weight loss. The NHS has a very strict set of rules. That's not the right word, but you know what I mean, to qualify
Criteria.
to actually use this. So you pretty much, it's to deal with obese people who are at health risk because they are overweight, to help them get back down to a healthy weight. Generally, they're prescribed them for up to 2 years. These are not something that in the NHS you're meant to use ongoing, but that's for another discussion. They're self-administered. Generally, it's an injection, 1 weekly or fortnightly. There are tablets and there are pills, sorry, that are coming through as well, which we think is going to probably grow this even more because the injections put some people off. You will have heard about and read about some of this in the press. Why the hell should hospitality industry be interested? Because the numbers are pretty damn big now. 4 to 7% of UK adults. Our research said 7. Other sort of big trusted research agencies have said 4, 5, 6. So what we're talking about is between 2 and 3.7 million users already in the UK, which is significant. It may seem like a small young number, but if we compare that to some of the other things which our industry has put a hell of a lot of focus on, approximately 7% of UK adults deem themselves vegetarian, 3% vegan, 1 to 4% have a actual wheat allergy. 4 to 7% of UK adults already using these drugs is a huge number. And
I
the
think,
biggest
Katie,
thing,
I think that
go
it's
on.
going to be, I think it's going to be the biggest, I think it's going to have the biggest impact on hospitality since the smoking ban. That's what I think.
Mm. Yeah, I would. Yeah, and that was a biggie, wasn't it? I'm too young to remember that, but sure.
Hang on, you're older than me. You must remember.
All
I
right,
remember
whatever.
it.
No, yes, I totally agree. And these, again, when you say 4 to 7%, it maybe doesn't seem that much, but that's a lot of people. And as I put up there, the biggest thing is that it is the research across Can's husband have done a lot of research on this as well. That it's looking like it's doubled in the last 12
Mm.
months, which is
And
huge.
and that also, Katie, isn't it true from the insight that I've seen that we've done that also the people that are on the GLP-1 drugs, it's a bit like the vegetarian vegan thing. They're more influential within a group of people. So
100%.
they're
Yeah.
more likely to say, can we go here because they've got
Yeah.
smaller plates, or can we go
Yeah.
there? So,
So
so they may well only be 4 to 7%, but their influence is huge.
agree. It's the same as vegetarians, vegans. It's the same as people when we look at people who aren't drinking or don't drink, possibly. And they are looking or have an allergy, perhaps. They're looking for a specific need to be fulfilled. So they're much more likely to choose the venues that their whole group is going to,
Yeah.
for sure. The interesting thing for me is this as well is it's pretty much spread female male. Like there isn't a real unique base of people taking this drug. It's growing faster within females because people are accessing it more privately. Whether it's sort of actual private prescriptions or through other means online. Women are certainly more aware of it, and as I said, they're driving growth. All ages seem to be taking it. This isn't a Gen Z thing at all. It is spread across. It seems to peter off a little bit around 60 years old plus, are not necessarily engaging at the moment. It's countrywide. It isn't necessarily a London or urban thing. Um, Obviously more prevalent in somewhere like London. There's more people anyway.
Mhm.
The big difference here is it is much more prevalent and growing in higher incomes because there is a cost to it. The growth is in the not the NHS, people who are getting it prescribed, but private prescriptions or other means of getting online, where it's sort of 150, 200 quid a month.
And
So we've got
they're not very well regulated at the moment. You can
no.
literally
It's easy to get
go
hold of,
online,
essentially.
send a
Yeah,
picture of
and
your
and
weight.
that's where we think the growth is, as well as the visibility, accessibility of it, is where the growth is coming from. It's not that the NHS obviously is suddenly prescribing loads more. So I'm going to carry on. Sorry, whiz through. Obviously, and we've got some great interviews, which I think you can listen to in the report, or there's links to listen to in the report. Eating, drinking, and socializing habits are impacted without a shadow of a doubt
Mhm.
because eating habits are so vastly impacted. The interesting thing, and I've read quite a lot around this now, and it's not just from our research, is people still seem to be the people who went out, socialized, used hospitality venues before, still seem to be doing that and wanting
Mm.
to. Funnily enough, we don't go out to eat or driven by eat or drink. We're going out to connect, to socialize, to have great experiences. We say that all the time. So I don't know if it's a big number or not. It's a significant number. 32% say they are going out to eat and drink less. But the majority still want to connect, engage, visit these venues and are doing that. However, they're more likely to go out for special occasions only. So they're cutting back on the more sort of functional spend. If I'm going to a QSR for my lunch, I might have gone to Leon every day for my work sandwich, or even grabbed a coffee on the way to from a prep every morning on my way to work, whatever. Those sort of functional visits are probably going to be the first to go. The more emotional connection nights out are more likely to stay, which means that certain formats will be more heavily affected. 65% say they're now eating different food, literally different food when they go out. Not a massive
Yeah.
surprise. And we don't focus too much on alcohol in this report, but we will do on the follow-up.
So that's fine.
23% say they're drinking less alcohol when out. One of the big drivers of this is calorie, they do, people are generally still looking at calories and things, but the massive one that came out again and again in this research was that if I'm not eating much, I literally can't have more than a light beer, or or I lose control. So these people can't go out and eat hardly anything and then have a bottle of wine. It's, so
There's also an issue that the research has shown up, and that again from research I've done, which is just pure volume. The fact is that these GLP-1s make you feel full,
yeah,
so you can't drink 3 pints in
yeah,
one go. It just doesn't
yeah,
seem to work like
yeah,
that. And then the other point, which I think we'll be exploring in the more drinks focused side of things, is carbonation, because of course
yeah,
carbonation makes you feel fuller, etc. So
yeah, yeah,
there's
interesting.
so many. I hadn't even thought of carbonation until who was it? Oh, it was one of our clients at Britvic said to me, "Oh, what are we thinking about this?" And I was like,
Mm,
"Crikey, yeah, we need to look into that as
mm.
well."
The
Who
the
knew it was
the
going to come
the
on bubbles?
the impact, or the knock-on impact is huge. Different things are obviously driving venue choice. I won't go into this too much, but again, people always say they choose healthy, so these are always slightly inflated figures when we're talking to people. But health, wellness, focused reputation, if they know there are healthier options on the menu, they will go for it. Definitely customization, flexibility, allowing me to pick and choose what I want on my plate, how big I want my plate. They seem to be much more likely to be choosing, no surprise, smaller plates, tapas style. Eating a three-course meal or a set menu is a lot less appealing. So healthier options, ability to customize things like, obviously, that again, we talk about functional drinks, functional foods, for want of a better word. They have to be very careful of whether they are or not. You have to be very careful of sort of making sure you're getting the nutrients, protein in particular. That word came up a hell of a lot, out of a lot less food than you previously or normally been eating as well. So that sort of high protein is certainly something that people are looking for. And when choosing what to eat, we've seen this as well. So there's a shift from food being something I enjoy and experience more to food is fuel. It's a small sort of functional part of my socializing experience. They think about health when making food decisions. They're more likely to check nutritional value than those who aren't on the drugs. They're more likely, funny enough, to be happy to pay a premium for healthy or functional drink options as well. So if I'm eating less, I'm happy to pay more to get exactly what I want.
And Katie, the food as fuel thing is really interesting as well, because the data kind of shows, or the research that we've done and elsewhere kind of shows that yes, there is that, but there's also the people that are, like you say, willing to pay more,
Mm.
but they want something more exciting. So they want a smaller portion of something that maybe they wouldn't have normally, because it would be too rich, or it would be too
Yeah,
decadent. But
yeah,
actually, there are some people that are on the GLP-1s that are going, right, well, I'm going to go out, but I'm going to get, I don't know, the lobster, or, whatever
yeah.
other thing, because actually, normally I wouldn't get that because I'd want a whole lobster, but a half lobster would be
Absolutely.
okay for me. And,
And some of the restaurants which are changing their menus and things are looking at that. So we've seen loads of a number of restaurants change, especially in the US, because they're ahead, so to speak, or it started
mm,
earlier there.
yeah,
A number of restaurants now are doing smaller portions, sharing platter, things like that. But you've also got a few that are doing real premium, um, whatever the food might be, but high price premium small bites and things like
yeah,
that. So you're still spending exactly the same, but in one or two, mouthfuls, you're getting sort of this absolutely outstanding taste for
yeah.
the same cost or something. So you can see that you're spending, if I'm only putting a little bit, if I'm only eating a bit, I'm happy to pay more.
Mm.
What do GLP-1 users like? What do they want to see more of on their menus? Again, we've talked about a lot of this anyway, but high protein comes up again and again, because I think that's drilled into they need to be literally getting those smaller portions, more plant-based, interestingly. Some people have talked about get sort of meat or greasy things, making them, that they used to eat, now making them feel icky, or whatever the word might be. Lighter meals, alcohol-free options. So obviously we were at the Low and No conference yesterday and Tuesday. And I think that there will be a number of these brands that will benefit, if you like, from this. You know, a quality adult, enjoyable, still a good experience, maybe not too fizzy, bloated, or whatever. I'm still going out, but I just can't or don't want to drink alcohol. And then
Yeah.
again, back to this functional health boosting ingredients. How can I get the most from everything I'm putting in my mouth, so to speak? There's some great examples in the report, which we're sort of coming to the end here, but there's some great examples in the reports, case studies for restaurants that are doing half-size skinny slice desserts. This is a great one where is this one where they used to serve a full sort of steak or something. They now just by default slice it so that it can just be shared between people. There's not necessarily conversation about it. You know, we're not over here. In the US, they are labeling some things sort of GLP-1 menus and things like that. Over here, we're being a little bit more British and subtle possibly about it. And again, you know, in the US, teeny weeny mini wheel, teeny weeny
Easy
mini
to say.
meals. So the more sort of slider approach, mix and match, mini versions. So a lot of things are doing what they do, but mini versions, or you can sort of mix and match those smaller versions within them.
I do hope that they don't start doing that stupid thing with the needle and the ketchup and
My guess is that is more of an
almost certainly.
Instagram photo
Almost
than
certainly. God, what a
realist.
ball.
This is a good one in the US. I won't linger it longer, but this is where Smoothie King have gone full out, you know, GLP-1 with their
Wow.
Gladiator GLP and slim and trim mango greens, which sound mildly revolting. But again, the US has already jumped on this. It is already impacting how people who visit them, who visits them, what they're looking for when they are,
Yeah.
and they are reacting to it fast. This is the other thing just to be bear in mind. We're at 4 to 7%
Mhm.
say at the moment. That's doubled in the last year. And in the future, 24%, which is a freaking huge
Yeah.
proportion of people who are open to a new trend. Talking to two of us who've been looking at stats and insights and consumer feedback for a long time, 24% say they are very likely or likely to consider using GLP-1 drugs to help them lose weight, specifically in the future. When they come into tablet form, when they will just be more increasingly easier accessible. I can't see this trend.
No.
I can't see this changing or you know,
No.
anytime
It's going to
soon.
be absolutely huge. It's going to have the biggest effect on our industry since smoking ban without a shadow of a doubt.
There you go. You heard it here first. So that report is so close to being finished. And I'll commit to getting it on the, or we'll commit to getting it in the Knowledge Hub. Tomorrow we'll be doing hospitality talks with people in the industry who are using as well, hopefully. Soon we're going to do a focus on this, hopefully from a drinks perspective as well, in the new year. And we'll be delving into this in more detail at RMI in end of January as well. I think, Katie, you're presenting that as well if anyone's going to be there. So we're refreshing this research and delving deeper into it as we go. And that brings us nearly to the end of our first little whiz through webinar. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope there's still people around.
Everyone's still online.
Can you
Everyone's
see if
still
there's
online.
any Q&As, by the way?
Oh,
I haven't checked that.
I don't think so. I don't
Okay,
really know how to.
that's fine.
No, no one's asked
So
anything.
other things that are coming out again, if you're logging into the Knowledge Hub, are building digital collections. Katie did a great presentation. What was that at the BR? I can't remember where he did that. Oh no, I know where it was. It was the new casual dining show.
National Restaurant Pub and Bar Show.
That's it. So great presentation there. The slides are available. This is more about how we build connections with our customers outside of the venue, digital, social, email, etc., etc. So that's some great stats in there. And that's a lot of those stats actually are from either our pub roadmap report, which will be refreshing in a few months, but also plan to plate at the bottom there. This is a biannual report that we do tracking customer decisions, how people make their decisions within hospitality from when I decide to go out. Shall I go out or shall I stay on my sofa and watch Netflix, through to where I should go, what I will eat, how I'll spend my money, and whether I'll go back again. So that's a biannual. It's sort of the tracking how things are changing over time as technology comes in, etc., etc. So that's the new one. The last one of those was May, I think. So we're doing the research on the new one, I think this month. So that'll be out shortly. So another big research, I love this report, State of Social, which we do with our friends at Kitch. This is the first hospitality benchmarking report for hospitality social metrics. So this is where if you've got any marketing directors listening, or if your marketing directors are not listening, teams are not listening, let them know about this. This is happening at the moment. You need to go on, find our survey, it's on our website, or let me know, and input your metrics, and then you will get lots of other information, opinions, and you will get that benchmarked against what other people in hospitality are doing. It's all confidential, so you don't get the actual names, etc. And we do a big launch of that in January. So that's a great report available. Last year's is available on the Knowledge Hub, but only contributors to the data get the real in-depth stuff. So you get top line stuff on the Knowledge Hub. The other thing is Power of Sport, which we've done in partnership with Sky Business and PubAid. We've got love it or not. We've got a massive summer of sport, or year of sport, but essentially summer of sport coming up next year. It seems never ending. And that's a look at how pubs can really make a difference to their bottom line by engaging in that. And talking of pubs, just to highlight, we've got our pub spotlight on Wednesday, the 11th of February. It's a fabulous event in central London, about 250 pub companies, all the big companies there, aren't they? Sort of, we normally have about 25 different or representatives from each there, coming to hear about the latest information about what licensees tenants want, and also customers, pub goers as well. So all of that is on our website, or give us a shout if you need more information on that. One more point, if anyone is, there are still people there, that's good. One more point on that would be, if you all have access to the Knowledge Hub. Access all areas means you access all the reports, or your company can. Many of the companies, only one or two of you are signed up. So please do share the love and let other people who might find these either webinars or reports valuable, because they can get access, of course, as well. So please do encourage other people to share up on that. Without further ado, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Please send us feedback. That's what we do. Understand what people are doing, thinking. So is live good? Timings, content length, etc. What you loved, what you fell asleep to, and we'll evolve as we go. But thanks for joining us, and hopefully see you next time.